CCL Sports Cards fans, what is up and welcome back. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of you who have made this last 9 months amazing. Yes, we have been on the air since last November and our platform continues to get bigger, better, more interactive, and perhaps most important is an opportunity for me to share my sports cards journey with all of you and deliver on my ultimate goal of educating. So thank you for continuing to tune in. But today, we are going to take a trip down memory lane, as I like to do sometimes, and review some of the calls that have been made as it relates to prospects these last 9 months. We have had some great calls here at CCL and some poor ones, although thankfully not many, and a few prospects that are still kind of a wait and see, and some that offer even more opportunity than ever before. What a better place to start today's episode than talking about one of my favorite minor league Pittsburgh Pirates and a gentleman that was recommended way back in episode number 2. Playing third base for your Altoona Curve, number 18, Mr. Jared Triello. I mentioned Jared as maybe one of my softer recommendations and actually still like him very much. And he garnered a lot of attention in spring training given his astonishing 2021 campaign at High A Greensboro and was drawing comparisons to the great, now retired Washington National Ryan Zimmerman. And perhaps rightfully so. Triello's defense is incredible and always has been, but his bat was always lagging behind, but it finally caught up to his glove. But I mention this as a softer recommendation because by the time Jared was on my own radar prior to 2021, or that campaign, when I bought my first true orange PSA 10 for next to nothing, Jared was already 23 years old at High A and is 24 in Double A now. And a debut next season at 25 is kind of a best case scenario. Not great or ideal, which brings me to a very important lesson I needed to understand and learn. When prospecting, age matters a lot. It's not to say money can't be made on Jared when he becomes a major leaguer, and will in all likelihood, and I'll have probably a modest gain in terms of the value that's created when he does produce in the show, but it will not be the home run or slot machine payout I felt it would be when I began to load the boat in early spring 2021. So, age matters. Now, I still like Jared, still have his Bowman Chrome True Rainbow except the Super, and fully intend to hold all of his cards until his debut. Thankfully, the money invested is not overly high, which makes that lesson and what I refer to as a tuition payment inexpensive. In other words, like in college, you gotta pay to learn sometimes. It's sometimes the best. Then there is Ed Howard, who, as any subscriber knows, I am in deep with Howard and felt like a genius when I recommended this former Chicago area high school superstar before the start of the 2022 minor league baseball season. And it was all sunshine and rainbows in April and in early May as Ed was hitting better, walking more, and striking out less, and really taking advantage of his promotion to High A South Bend this season. His cards were cheap relative to a 20-year-old in High A who could have made Double A, I imagine, until the freak accident which derailed it all. Trying to leg out a single, Howard moved awkwardly trying to avoid a tag against Fort Wayne late in the game on May 10th. Which gave him a significant hip injury that ended his season before he really got rolling. Lesson number 2. Don't ever invest more than you should in any young prospect, no matter how great you think they are. It takes one freak accident to end it all and see your money go up in flames. Now, thankfully, Howard will be 21 when 2023 gets rolling, meaning it is far from over for the youngster, but a hip injury is never a good thing. And it derailed the career of the once great Bo Jackson, a childhood hero of mine. Side note, have you seen some of the charity work that Bo does in Alabama? I mean, Bo knows charity work. Now, I am optimistic Howard makes a full recovery as he is still young, and I have added a little Howard to the investment pile since he got hurt. But adding to a losing investment is never, ever easy. A few other rough calls I've made are Luis Matos, who has turned it on recently a little at High A Eugene, but has been hurt and really has had a dreadful season. He was once drawing comparisons to Brave Star outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. because of the similarity in skill set, his swing, and even the way Matos dressed for games. But said politely, he has struggled. I like Matos even more these days and will hold the course. Age and time are still on my side. He is still 20 and may see Double A next year. And 21 in Double A is not awful, but his stock has fallen a lot. Then there's Jordan Groshans. Yeah, I can hear all the chatter online. Groshans is a bust. What a waste of time. And while being traded from the Jays to Miami hurts me personally, as the Jays are a great market for me and collectors up here in Canada, and Miami isn't a market like, say, the Mets, I actually like the trade. Jordan needed a change of scenery. And I still like Groshans because, you guessed it, age is still on my side. But moreover, this is Jordan's first bad season. Look at the numbers since 2018. You'll see what I mean. He's done great until this year. His big color is being given away at auction these days, and the time to sell has really passed. One bad season after a great track record is no reason to panic. With Jordan being 23 to start the year and likely in AAA next year, I see no reason to sell. And to quote the great Jim Cramer, author and host of Mad Money, and a man I give a ton of credit to for my own personal success, no one ever makes a dime by panicking. There are other great prospects I can speak to, or not great prospects, or prospects like Patrick Bailey, who I still like, or Nick Gonzalez, who many have thrown in the towel on, both of whom are getting older, I will concede. But with the prices of their cards where they are, I think you could do worse. Essentially, they're like 75% off their highs. Then there is Gabriel Moreno, catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, currently in Buffalo with the logjam at catcher in Toronto on the big club. People have all but given up on this fellow, which I find to be a tremendous opportunity. Gabby is 22, and his cup of coffee with the big club lasted 58 at-bats, where he didn't homer, but he did hit 276. That's far from a disaster, and his cards are more than 50% off from their high. Likely because he has debuted already, and the hot money has moved on to, say, Francisco Alvarez, stud catcher for the Mets with AAA Syracuse. I say take a second look at Moreno. His 2020 Bowman Chrome base auto and PSA 10 sold most recently for $183. He's only 22, and by comparison, Gavin Lux, who is having something of a renaissance season with the Dodgers, albeit with less power, is getting similar prices for his Chrome cards, and he's more than 2 years older than Moreno. Yes, I know Lux is a shortstop with the Dodgers, and catchers are not as sexy when it comes to your investing money, but it's a relevant comparison, and many called Lux a bust last season. Now, on to the good stuff, starting with a few notable recommendations whose card values have either risen a little bit or at least remained consistent since they were first recommended, and all of whom I like even more these days, in Alec Burleson and Jordan Westburg. While having an investment remain flat isn't necessarily a good thing, I would call it marvelous, given how horrendous the prospect market has been these last 4 months or so. Both Burleson and Westburg are 23 and banging on the door to the show. I like them both to be big-time contributors someday soon, and their cards are still approachable. Now it is time. These were some great calls that have paid big dividends if you got the players when they were first recommended here at CCL. Again, all these episodes have a link right over there over my shoulder, which take you to the episode where I first discussed why I like the prospect. If a link is not provided, it is only because I've maxed out on the number of links I can use in this episode. But trust me, the episodes are there. We are going to start with a player who is having one heck of a comeback season. Center fielder for your Hillsboro Hawks, number 3, you guessed it, Wilderd Patino. Did you know Wilderd has like 64 steals? He hits for power, he has a good average, great defense, and most important, the self-proclaimed ninja has a great attitude. And he would have had to with all the litany of injuries he's had since being signed out of Venezuela for just under $1 million by the D-backs. The kid's incredible. Wilderd was written off when we first started showcasing him as a card we were purchasing late last winter. My contention was, and still is, that Wilderd is young, only 20 then, and he's 21 now, with lackluster career numbers up until now, again, prior to his comeback. And because his numbers always looked bad, folks assumed he just sucked. But if you did your homework, you would realize he was dealing with injuries in his calf or his elbow, and that provided some very cheap cards to investors and collectors who looked. The kid just never got rolling, but he is rolling now, hitting in the same lineup as superstar in the making, Jordan Lawler. And Wilderd is doing very well since his promotion to High A a few weeks ago, even homering in his first game. Subscribers know I have selectively been adding more to my Wilderd pile and have showcased the cards in the I Just Invested segments. And while it's true I have some for sale, it's not because I don't like Wilderd longer term. It is because I am sitting on a very nice profit and want to take a little money off the table. Anyone know the reason why? because we are just a freak accident away from a great idea becoming a wait and see, or even worse. But I will hold some of his cards because longer term, I believe there is more upside. The kid is going to be a star someday with his skill set, but again, I do not have a crystal ball and choose to be prudent and a seller of strength. Then there's Michael Harris II. 6 months ago, when we first recommended Harris, he had just wrapped up his season at High A Rome. And at the time, I marveled at how cheap his cards were relative to some of the other prospect superstars and their prices. But even I did not see this explosion from Harris coming so soon. I mean, Harris was just 20 when the episode aired, and while I could see his potential, he took off like a rocket this season and has put up some super stellar numbers this season for the Atlanta Braves. Not to mention flashing some of the best defense for a big league center fielder, bar none. His WAR is already 2.5 this year. Crazy good for a debut with lots of runway left. And Harris's 2020 Bowman Chrome base auto and PSA 10 was trading at just $250 back in February. And today, with routine, sells for $600 or more. That is a very, very nice gain of well over 100% when fellas like Bobby Witt's cards have fallen by 50% or more. Maybe that's an opportunity. Maybe another episode. But back to Harris. I have sold some Harris in one base auto PSA 9 and a purple PSA 10 over the course of the summer. But I continue to hold most of my cards. Some nice color and base autos, all in PSA 10, because again, I believe longer term. And this fella keeps making me right. Then we get to the fellow Brave and shortstop Vaughn Grissom, who just had one heck of a memorable debut for the Braves at Fenway, going 2 for 4 with a homer and a steal. Congrats on making this show, kid. That is awesome. Vaughn is just 21 now and has long been a favorite of mine here at CCL for so many reasons. The first of which was his age, then his numbers, and finally his price. As I mentioned just an episode ago, I was picking up raw base autos for under $20 in the summer of 2021 when he was a nobody who was drafted in the 11th round in 2019. Then casually mentioned him in the episode where we got behind Michael Harris. That's noted above. Then jumped in with both feet 4 months ago, just before the 2022 campaign got rolling. His 2020 Bowman Chrome base auto and PSA 10 was selling routinely for about $150 then, and now following his Rockstar debut, north of $500. While some froth may come off, that is one heck of a profit. So I did a little selling, as I shared with the viewers in the last episode, but it was not related to his debut, as no one saw that coming. But it did happen to coincide with Grissom's debut. And I unloaded a blue PSA 10 and a green PSA 10 for a very nice profit. I will hold some and have much more at PSA and BGS being graded. Much like Harris, I believe in this kid longer term. But when you get big wins, take a little off. I will concede it has taken many years for me to be able to sell anything when it is hot, be it a stock or real estate, or in this case, sports cards. Because it's human nature to expect things that are going up to keep going up, which is why we always feel like we will miss out if we don't buy, but that is not often the case. We should fight our instincts and sell some. That's it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for taking a stroll down memory lane with me and sharing in my losses and my big wins. But tell me in the comments below, is there a prospect that I have recommended but didn't mention? I did my very best to hold myself accountable to you viewers and fans for my calls, but may have missed a few things, and this was not intentional. So ask me in the comments, and I will reply with where I am at with said prospect. Sound fair? Awesome. Keep in mind that anything I say on this channel is strictly my opinion and should be taken as such. Happy hunting, all.